I watched my mother's face harden the moment Chris's car disappeared down the driveway. She turned to me with that look I'd seen 1,000 times before, the one that said my life was about to become her decision. Family meeting, now. Her voice cut through the evening air like a knife. My stomach dropped. Chris and I had just spent 2 hours in my parents' living room, navigating questions about his career, his family, his plans for our future. He'd been perfect, respectful, articulate, genuine. My father had even smiled when Chris talked about his work as a civil engineer. My younger sister Sarah had whispered to me in the kitchen that she liked him. Everything had gone smoothly. Too smoothly, apparently. I followed my mother inside, where my father already sat in his usual armchair. My brother Kelvin came down the stairs, looking confused. Sarah perched on the sofa arm, picking at her nail polish. "What's this about, Mom?" Kelvin asked. She stood in the center of the room like a preacher at her pulpit. "That man will not be marrying your sister." The words hung in the air. I felt my face flush hot. "Excuse me?" I managed to say. "Chris is not a committed Christian, Margaret. I can see it. I've been in the church for 40 years. I know a lukewarm believer when I meet one." "He goes to church every Sunday," I said, my voice shaking. "He volunteers with the youth group. Church attendance doesn't make someone a man of God." She folded her arms across her chest. "James from my congregation, now there's a proper Christian man, devoted, faithful. He'd make you a good husband." My hands clenched into fists. We'd had this conversation before. James was 38, balding, and had made it abundantly clear at every church function that he believed a wife's place was in the home, silent and obedient. The one time we'd spoken for more than 5 minutes, he'd explained to me why women shouldn't work outside the home unless absolutely necessary. I'd wanted to throw my coffee at him. "I'm not interested in James. I've told you this. You're 25 years old. You think you know everything, but you don't." My mother's voice rose. "I'm your mother. I know what's good for you." Kelvin stood up. "Mom, that's not fair. Margaret's an adult. She can choose who she wants to marry." "Stay out of this, Kelvin," she pointed at him. "This is between me and your sister." "No, it's not." Kelvin's jaw tightened. He was 32, married with 2 kids, and the only person in our family who'd ever successfully stood up to our mother. "You don't get to pick her husband. I am her mother. I am matured enough to know what is good for her." She turned back to me. "You will not marry Chris. That is final." Something inside me snapped. Years of biting my tongue, of nodding along to her lectures, of watching her control every aspect of my life that she could reach, all of it came flooding up. "You have no right to choose a partner for me." My voice was steady now, cold even. "I love Chris. I'm going to marry him." The room went silent. Even Sarah stopped picking at her nails. My mother's face turned red. "How dare you speak to me that way? This is what that man has done to you. He's changed you, made you disrespectful." "He hasn't changed me. He's just helped me find my voice." "Your voice?" She laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "Your voice should be one of obedience and respect. The Bible says to honor your father and mother." "It also says to leave and cleave," Kelvin interjected. "When someone gets married, they start their own family." "You," she whirled on him. "You've always been too soft on her. That's why she thinks she can talk back to me like this." I grabbed my purse from the side table. "I'm leaving. If you walk out that door, Margaret Ann, don't think about coming back." I stopped, looked at her, really looked at her. At 68 years old, my mother was still beautiful, with silver hair she wore in a neat bun and clear blue eyes that could pierce through lies and excuses. But right now, those eyes were filled with something I'd never wanted to see directed at me. Pure, self-righteous certainty. "Then I guess I won't be coming back," I said, and walked out. "Kelvin, wait." I stood by my car in the driveway, my hands shaking so badly I couldn't get my keys out of my purse. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. It would have been beautiful if I wasn't on the verge of falling apart. "She'll calm down," Kelvin said. "Give her a few days." "You know she won't." I finally fished out my keys. She never backs down. Not when she thinks God is on her side. Then what are you going to do? I looked back at the house where I'd grown up. The white siding needed a fresh coat of paint. The rose bushes my father had planted 20 years ago still bloomed by the front steps. My childhood bedroom window was on the second floor, the one with the cross-stitched curtains my grandmother had made. "I'm going to marry Chris anyway," I said, "and if she can't accept that, then she's choosing not to be part of my life." Kelvin pulled me into a hug. "For what it's worth, I think Chris is great, and I think you're doing the right thing. Tell Sarah I'll call her tomorrow, okay? I don't want her to think I'm abandoning her." "I will. Drive safe." I got in my car and drove to Chris's apartment across town. He opened the door in sweatpants and a t-shirt, his hair still damp from a shower. "Hey, that was quick. I thought you'd be there for another hour at least." His smile faded when he saw my face. "What happened?" I told him everything. He listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker with each sentence. "So she just decided I'm not good enough?" he said finally. "It's not about you. It's about control." I collapsed onto his couch. "She's been like this my whole life. Nothing I do is ever my decision. It's always what she thinks is best, what she thinks God wants, what the church would approve of." Chris sat next to me, taking my hand. "What do you want to do?" "I want to marry you. I want to build a life with you. I just don't know if I'm ready to lose my whole family over it." "You wouldn't lose everyone. Kelvin's on your side." "But Sarah's only 17, and my dad never goes against my mom. He just sits there and lets her make all the decisions." I wiped my eyes. "I'm so tired, Chris. I'm tired of fighting her. I'm tired of never being good enough." He pulled me close. "You don't have to decide everything tonight. Let's just take it one day at a time." But I knew it wasn't that simple. My mother didn't do compromise. She didn't do middle ground. In her world, you were either obedient or you were rebellious. You either followed God's will as she interpreted it, or you were lost. The next morning, my phone started buzzing before 7. My mother had sent me 12 text messages, each one longer than the last. They ranged from Bible verses about honoring parents to warnings about the dangers of marrying outside God's plan, to accusations that I'd been brainwashed by secular culture. I deleted them all without reading past the first lines. Then Sarah called. "Mom's freaking out," she said in a whisper. "She's been on the phone with Pastor Richards for an hour." Great, so now the whole church is gonna know. "She's talking about staging an intervention. She wants to bring you in to meet with the church elders." I laughed, a sharp sound that held no humor. "An intervention? For choosing my own husband? I think she's serious, Mags." "Let her try. I'm not going to any intervention." "Are you really going to marry Chris, even if she disowns you?" I looked across the room at Chris, who was making coffee in his tiny kitchen. He caught my eye and smiled, the kind of warm, genuine smile that had made me fall in love with him in the first place. "Yes," I said, "I really am." Sarah was quiet for a moment. "Good. I think you should. Chris is nice, and Mom shouldn't get to control your life forever." "Be careful, Sarah. Don't let her hear you say that." "I'm not stupid, but I'm not going to pretend I agree with her either." After we hung up, I made myself toast and tried to figure out what came next. My mother had always been the gravitational center of our family. When she said jump, we asked how high. When she disapproved of something, it simply didn't happen. She'd vetoed my college major, my first job, my choice of friends. I'd spent my whole life trying to be the daughter she wanted, and I was exhausted. Chris handed me a cup of coffee. "Your sister?" "Mom's planning an intervention with the church elders." He whistled low. "She's really going all in." "That's what she does. She can't just disagree with me. She has to mobilize her entire support system to prove she's right." My phone buzzed again. This time it was Kelvin. Hey, so I need to warn you. Mom called James. My stomach sank. What? Yeah, she called him this morning and told him you'd broken up with Chris and were interested in getting to know him better. She did what? He's apparently very excited. He's planning to call you later today. I stood up, pacing Chris's small living room. This is insane. This is actually insane. I told her she was out of line, but you know how she gets. She's convinced she's doing God's work. God's work is lying to people now? In her mind, she's not lying. She's speaking her desired outcome into existence, prayer and manifestation or whatever. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. Instead, I took a deep breath and said, "Thanks for warning me. I'll handle James if he calls." Margaret, I know this is hard, but maybe you should consider talking to a therapist or something. This level of control isn't normal. It's not healthy. I know it's not healthy, Kelvin. I've known that for years. I just didn't know how to get out from under it. After we hung up, I blocked my mother's number. Then I blocked James's number, even though he hadn't called yet. Chris watched me do it with an expression I couldn't quite read. "You don't have to do this because of me," he said quietly. "If you need to reconcile with your family..." "This isn't because of you. This is because of me." I set my phone down. I should have done this years ago. I just didn't have the courage. The next few days were strange. I felt simultaneously lighter and heavier. Lighter because I wasn't constantly bracing myself for my mother's criticism. Heavier because the reality of what I'd done was sinking in. I'd effectively cut myself off from my entire family, except Kelvin and Sarah. My father called once. The conversation lasted less than 2 minutes. "Your mother is very hurt," he said. "I'm sorry she's hurt, but I'm not sorry for making my own decisions." "You've always been headstrong, Margaret, just like her." I almost laughed at that. My mother would have been furious at the comparison. "Dad, do you even like Chris? Do you have an actual opinion, or are you just going along with whatever Mom says?" He was quiet for a long time. "I think Chris seems like a fine young man." But your mother knows best about these things. She has spiritual discernment." "Spiritual discernment or a need to control everything?" He sighed. "I have to go. Your mother needs me." The call ended. I stared at my phone, feeling hollowed out. My father had always been the gentle one, the peacekeeper, but he'd never once stood up for me. Never once questioned whether my mother's iron grip on our family was healthy or right. He just went along with it, year after year, letting her make every decision while he hid behind his newspaper and his workshop in the garage. That weekend, Chris and I went to look at engagement rings. It felt defiant and terrifying and absolutely right. I chose a simple sapphire ring because diamonds felt too traditional, too much like what my mother would have picked. "Are you sure?" Chris asked as the jeweler boxed it up. "We can wait. We can try to work things out with your family first." "I'm sure. I want to marry you. I don't want to wait for permission I'm never going to get." He kissed me right there in the jewelry store, in front of the smiling clerk and the display cases full of glittering promises. We set a date for the following spring. Small wedding, just close friends and whatever family members decided to show up. Kelvin promised he'd be there with his wife and kids. Sarah said she'd try, but she wasn't sure if she could manage it without our mother finding out. I sent my mother one final text message. "Chris and I are getting married on April 15th. You're welcome to come if you can accept my decision. If not, I understand." She responded within minutes. "I will pray for your soul. You're making the biggest mistake of your life." I didn't respond. What was there to say? The months that followed were a strange kind of freedom. I threw myself into wedding planning, into my work as a graphic designer, into building a life that was mine. Chris and I took dance lessons for our first dance. We argued about centerpieces and argued about cake flavors and laughed about how ridiculous it all was. But underneath it all was a persistent ache. I'd see mothers and daughters shopping together, laughing together, and feel a sharp stab of loss. I'd drive past my old church and wonder if my mother was inside, praying for me to come to my senses. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and reach for my phone to call her before remembering that we weren't speaking. Kelvin told me she'd lost weight, that she looked tired, that she talked about me constantly, always in the context of prayer and spiritual warfare, as if I were possessed by demons rather than simply an adult making my own choices. 2 weeks before the wedding, Sarah called me crying. She found out I've been talking to you. She's furious. I'm sorry, Sarah. I never wanted to put you in the middle of this. She says I have to choose, her or you. My heart stopped. Sarah, you don't have to choose. You're 17. You live with them. I'm not going to ask you to. I choose you. What? I choose you, Mags. I can't live like this anymore. I can't spend another year walking on eggshells, trying to be perfect enough for her. She'll never be satisfied. Nothing is ever good enough. Where are you right now? At school. I told the counselor everything about the control, the manipulation, all of it. She's helping me figure out options. I felt tears streaming down my face. Sarah, you don't have to do this because of me. I'm not doing it because of you. I'm doing it because of me. You just showed me. It was possible. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Would you have cut ties with your family to marry the person you love?